November 13th, 1942, 11:01 hours, approximately 10 nautical miles north of Guadalcanal. Japanese submarine I-26 fired two Type 95 torpedoes at the damaged American task force, withdrawing from the naval battle of Guadalcanal. The first torpedo missed USS San Francisco. The second struck USS Juneau, an Atlanta-class light cruiser already crippled from earlier battle damage. Impact point: starboard side, forward magazine compartment containing high explosive ammunition for the ship's 5-inch guns. What happened next, according to survivor accounts, took approximately 20 to 30 seconds. The torpedo triggered a sympathetic explosion in the magazine. Each round, a 55-pound projectile with high explosive filling, depending on shell type. The blast wave propagated through the ship's structure at supersonic speed. The keel fractured amidships. The hull failed under internal explosive force. USS Juneau broke in half. Forward section tilted bow up, approximately 45 degrees. Aft section rolled to port. Both began sinking immediately. Time from impact to complete submersion? Sources vary between 20 and 42 seconds. Most survivor testimony clusters around 30 seconds. 687 sailors were aboard. 5 were brothers: George, Francis, Joseph, Madison, and Albert Sullivan. Ages 27, 26, 24, 23, and 20. From Waterloo, Iowa. Enlisted together January 3, 1942. Requested assignment to the same ship. Request granted. All 5 were aboard when the magazine detonated. This is the report on the USS Juneau magazine explosion, on the structural failure that destroyed a warship in less than half a minute, on the tactical decision that left survivors in the water for 8 days, and on the 5 brothers whose deaths changed U.S. military family policy. Ship broke in half in 30 seconds. Rescue came 8 days late. Only 10 of approximately 100 survivors found alive.
One ship, 5 brothers, 30 seconds. The tragedy that changed U.S. military family policy forever. This is the USS Juneau Report. Subscribe. The Sullivan family, Waterloo, Iowa. Working class Irish American. Father Thomas worked as freight conductor for Illinois Central Railroad. Mother Alita managed the household. 5 sons: George, born 1914, Francis, 1916, Joseph, 1918, Madison, 1919, Albert, 1920. 1 daughter, Genevieve. The boys grew up inseparable, the kind of brothers who finished each other's sentences. George and Francis enlisted in the Navy together May 1937, served on destroyer USS Hovey, DD-208, until June 1941. Both achieved petty officer rates, George as gunner's mate 2nd class, Francis as coxswain. They left the Navy mid-1941, returned to Waterloo. Civilian jobs, normal peacetime life. December 7, 1941, Pearl Harbor. Among 2,403 Americans killed, Seaman First Class William V. Ball, a friend from Waterloo, serving aboard USS Arizona when Japanese bombs triggered the forward magazine explosion. Ball was among 1,177 sailors killed aboard Arizona. Ball's death hit the Sullivans personally, not an abstract casualty, a friend, someone from their hometown. The 5 brothers made a decision: enlist together, avenge Ball, but one non-negotiable condition: serve on the same ship. January 3, 1942, Federal Building, Waterloo. 5 brothers walked into the Navy recruiting office: George, 27, Francis, 26, Joseph, 24, Madison, 23, Albert, 20. Albert was married, had a son, James Thomas Sullivan, born 1941, 21 months old. Al was leaving behind wife and infant son. Their condition? Assignment to same ship. All 5 together. Navy policy on sibling assignments in early 1942 was ambiguous. The service discouraged concentrating family members on single vessels, but policy was not strictly enforced. In some cases, the Navy promoted sibling service as recruitment propaganda. George Sullivan drafted a letter to Secretary of the Navy. "We will make a team together that can't be beaten. the Navy approved the request. This decision would later become subject of policy review, but in January 1942, the request aligned with recruitment messaging emphasizing patriotic family service. Brothers completed basic training at Naval Training School, Great Lakes, Illinois. February 14, 1942, assigned to USS Juneau, CL-52, newly commissioned Atlanta-class light cruiser at New York Navy Yard. The Sullivans were not unique aboard Juneau. Naval records indicate at least 30 sets of brothers served on the ship. The Sullivan Five were the largest sibling group. Navy photographers took pictures of the five brothers on Juneau's deck. Photographs became recruitment material. Navy's Five Sullivans appeared in newspapers. The family became symbols before any combat action. USS Juneau deployed to Pacific in August 1942. Guadalcanal Campaign. The brothers participated in multiple engagements through October 1942. Then came November 12th to 13th, 1942. Naval Battle of Guadalcanal. November 12th, 1942. 23:45 hours. Waters north of Guadalcanal. USS Juneau was part of Task Force 67, 5 cruisers, 8 destroyers. Mission: escort convoy, engage Japanese resupply forces. Engagement began around midnight. Point-blank naval combat. Japanese and American warships in confined waters between Guadalcanal and Savo Island. Chaos. Searchlights. Tracer fire. Ships maneuvering to avoid collisions while engaging targets. Juneau exchanged fire with destroyer Udachi. No confirmed hits. Then destroyer Amatsukaze, having just sunk USS Barton, fired 4 Type 93 torpedoes, each 24 inches diameter, commonly described as carrying roughly 1,000 pounds explosive. One struck Juneau. Port side, forward area. Time, approximately 0150 hours, November 13th. The explosion killed 19 sailors in forward engine room instantly. The blast buckled the keel, the structural spine running bow to stern. Every frame and bulkhead derives strength from the keel. The fracture compromised hull integrity. Electrical power failed. Fire control offline. Maximum speed, 13 knots. Juneau withdrew from battle. Damage control teams worked to shore bulkheads, pump flooded compartments. By dawn November 13th, engagement had ended. USS Atlanta crippled. USS Barton sunk. Multiple destroyers lost. Captain Gilbert C. Hoover, commanding USS Helena and senior officer present, ordered damaged ships to withdraw together to Espiritu Santo, 600 nautical miles southeast. Juneau could maintain 13 knots, acceptable for formation speed. Withdrawal began. Damaged warships moving south. Japanese submarine I-26, commanded by Lieutenant Commander Minoru Yokota, had been tracking the force. Yokota positioned I-26 along projected course. Submerged. Waiting. Approximately 1100 hours, November 13th, American ships came into range. Yokota ordered 2 Type 95 torpedoes fired at USS San Francisco. Both missed San Francisco. The second torpedo struck USS Juneau. The torpedo struck Juneau's starboard side. Forward area. At or near ammunition magazine. Ship's keel was already fractured, hull integrity already compromised. Second torpedo was catastrophic. The mechanism. Atlanta-class light cruisers, anti-aircraft platforms. Displacement, approximately 6,000 tons. Length, 541 feet. Primary armament, 16 5-inch 38 caliber dual-purpose guns in 8 twin mounts. The 5-inch 38, Navy's most versatile gun, effective against surface and air targets. Rate of fire, 15 to 20 rounds per minute per barrel. Ammunition was loaded as projectile and propellant charge, handled in rapid workflow designed for sustained fire. Each round, projectile weight, 55 pounds. High explosive fill, approximately 7 pounds per shell for standard HE rounds. Forward magazine. Stored ammunition for forward 4 gun mounts, 8 guns total. Estimates suggest 800 to 1,200 rounds stored in handling rooms and magazines. Storage. Projectiles in shell racks. powder charges in separate flame-proof containers, multiple safety protocols. But protocols assumed normal conditions, not a torpedo warhead, commonly described as carrying roughly 900 pounds explosive, detonating directly against magazine compartment. Torpedo detonated against hull. 2 scenarios. 1. Direct magazine breach, immediate sympathetic detonation. 2. Bulkhead failure, blast wave reached magazine milliseconds later, sympathetic detonation. Either way, magazine exploded. The explosion. Large portion of forward ammunition stowage, estimates suggest 800 to over 1,000 5-inch rounds, detonated in rapid sympathetic chain reaction. The exact explosive equivalent is uncertain, but combined detonation released enormous energy inside confined steel hull. For context, guns firing at maximum rate could expend similar ammunition over 30 to 40 minutes. Magazine released this energy in less than 1 second. First rounds to detonate triggered adjacent rounds. Blast wave propagated at supersonic speed. Each detonation added to cumulative force. Pressure exceeded structural capacity. Steel bulkheads failed. Welded hull plates separated. Riveted joints sheared. Keel, already fractured, failed completely under internal explosive force. Witnesses on other ships described seeing massive explosion. Column of water, steam, smoke rising hundreds of feet. USS Juneau broke in 2 pieces. The sinking. Forward section tilted bow up 30 to 45 degrees. Weight of aft section created fulcrum effect. Sailors thrown by angle and concussion. Below decks, immediate flooding. Trapped by collapse. Aft section rolled to port approximately 90 degrees. Magazine explosion created asymmetric damage. Both sections sank immediately. Forward section, 15 to 20 seconds to submersion. Aft section, 10 to 15 seconds. Total time from impact, some accounts, 20 seconds. Others, 30 to 40 seconds. Official estimate, 42 seconds. Most survivor accounts, approximately 30 seconds. 687 sailors aboard, many killed instantly by blast. Others killed when ship broke apart. Others thrown into water, most without life preservers. Approximately 100 survived explosion and sinking. American task force did not stop, still under submarine threat. Captain Hoover faced immediate tactical decision. Situation: USS Juneau exploded and sunk in approximately 30 seconds. Japanese submarine I-26 demonstrated active targeting. Multiple American ships already damaged. Task force approximately 300 nautical miles from safety. Stopping would expose ships to additional submarine attack. Hoover assessed: explosion, violence, speed, debris field. Conclusion: probability of survivors, minimal. Risk to remaining ships, high. He ordered task force to continue toward Espiritu Santo. He did not order ships to stop and search. This decision would later become subject of investigation, but Hoover's reasoning followed standard doctrine. Senior officers' primary responsibility is to ships under command, not to potential survivors from ship already sunk. Hoover took one action: ordered USS Helena to signal USB-17 bomber on patrol. Message: report Juneau's sinking. Request search and rescue aircraft. B-17 crew received message, but B-17 operated under standing orders. Maintain radio silence to avoid revealing positions to enemy direction finding. Bomber crew, following orders, did not break radio silence. They waited until they landed several hours later. Filed report through normal channels. By time report reached headquarters staff, additional hours had passed. Headquarters staff, processing multiple battle reports from Guadalcanal, initially did not prioritize Juneau's survivor report. Assumption, based on explosion violence, was casualties total or near total. Days later, headquarters realized: no rescue operation mounted. Survivors might still be in water. Aircraft dispatched to search. 8 days after USS Juneau sank, approximately 100 sailors survived the Juneau explosion and sinking. They entered the water north of Guadalcanal on the morning of November 13, 1942. Some had managed to grab life jackets during the brief seconds between explosion and entering water. Many had not. Some clung desperately to floating debris, wooden planks blown free from ship's superstructure, empty shell casings, cork floats, anything providing minimal buoyancy. Others simply tread water, conserving energy, waiting. Standard Navy life rafts from Juneau, designed under normal conditions to support perhaps 10 to 12 men each, had been blown free by violence of magazine explosion or hastily released by sailors before ship sank. Perhaps 6 to 8 rafts total made it into water intact. These rafts now supported groups of 15 to 20 men each, severely overcrowded. Men taking turns rotating between rafts and water to distribute burden. November 13th, afternoon and night. First deaths occurred within hours. Sailors severely wounded in magazine explosion or crushed during structural collapse succumbed to injuries. No medical supplies existed. No morphine for pain, no bandages for wounds, nothing. Those without any flotation devices began tiring rapidly. Human muscles fatigued quickly from constant effort of treading water. Some drowned within first 12 hours, simply too exhausted to continue. Water temperature near Guadalcanal measured approximately 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, not immediately life-threatening. But extended immersion causes hypothermia even in relatively warm tropical water. Human body loses heat approximately 25 times faster in water than in air of same temperature. Slow heat loss would compound over days. First night brought cold, exhaustion, and shock, growing fear that no rescue was coming. November 14th. By dawn on November 14th, approximately 80 to 90 sailors remained alive. Exact count impossible to determine. No formal roll call could be maintained across scattered groups of survivors spread over perhaps square mile of ocean. Challenges were compounding rapidly. Dehydration. No fresh water existed. Survivors surrounded by seawater, completely undrinkable. Human body requires approximately 2 to 3 liters of water per day under normal conditions. In tropical heat, under severe physical stress, requirement increases substantially. Without any water intake, human survival time averages only 3 to 4 days. In extreme heat, even less. First symptoms of serious dehydration began appearing by November 14th. Severely dry mouth, drastically decreased urination, profound fatigue, dizziness, confusion beginning in some men. Sun exposure. Tropical sun beat down mercilessly. No shade existed, no protection. Severe sunburn developed within just few hours for sailors without shirts or any head covering. Burns added significantly to casualty list. Increased pain. Increased fluid loss through damaged skin, worsening dehydration. Injuries. Wounded sailors from explosion and sinking faced deteriorating conditions. Burns became infected. Broken bones caused constant agony. Open lacerations exposed to seawater developed serious infections. No antibiotics, no pain medication, bodies weakening hour by hour. The Sullivan brothers. According to later testimony from survivors who personally knew Sullivan brothers and observed them during and immediately after sinking, Francis Frank Sullivan, Joseph Red Sullivan, and Madison Matt Sullivan. All three killed instantly in magazine explosion itself. Their duty stations that morning placed them in or very near forward sections of ship where magazine detonated. None of three were seen by any survivor after explosion occurred. Bodies never recovered from ocean. Albert Al Sullivan. Youngest brother survived initial magazine explosion and rapid sinking. He was seen in water after Juneau went down. According to accounts from other survivors, Albert was injured. Exact extent and nature of injuries remain unclear, and he drowned on second day, either late November 14th or early November 15th. Witnesses recalled seeing him struggling in water, then he disappeared beneath surface. George Sullivan. Eldest brother survived explosion and sinking. He managed to reach one of life rafts. He witnessed deaths or disappearance of all 4 of his younger brothers. Survivor accounts vary somewhat on how much George knew or understood about his brother's specific fates in immediate chaotic aftermath of sinking. Some survivors later recalled George asking repeatedly about his brothers, looking for them among other survivors in water. November 15th to 17th. Dehydration effects intensified dramatically. By November 15th, survivors still alive were experiencing increasingly severe symptoms: profound confusion, extreme lethargy, rapid irregular heartbeat, dangerously decreased blood pressure, some sailors becoming seriously delirious. Desperation and deteriorating mental states led some men to drink seawater. This decision was invariably fatal. Seawater contains approximately 3.5% sodium chloride, roughly 35 grams of salt per liter. Human kidney can efficiently process sodium concentrations only up to approximately 2%. Beyond that physiological threshold, kidneys cannot excrete excess sodium efficiently enough. Sodium concentration in blood rises progressively. This condition, hypernatremia, or excessive blood sodium, produces rapidly escalating symptoms: intense thirst that paradoxically worsens rather than improves with drinking more seawater, severe confusion, violent behavior in some cases, seizures, brain swelling, coma, death, typically within 24 to 48 hours of beginning to drink seawater. Multiple survivors who were eventually rescued later reported watching shipmates drink seawater, become increasingly confused and sometimes violent over the following day, and then die. Sharks began appearing in increasing numbers. Waters north of Guadalcanal are known habitat for both tiger sharks and oceanic white-tip sharks. Both species are considered dangerous to humans. Sharks are attracted to several factors: blood in water from wounded sailors, splashing and erratic movement from struggling swimmers, vibrations in water transmitted by large groups of survivors. Survivor accounts mention shark attacks beginning around November 14 to 15 and increasing progressively as days passed. Sailors were pulled from edges of rafts, attacked while swimming between groups. Shark attacks added immensely to psychological terror. Survivors were not merely dying slowly from thirst and exposure, but being actively hunted and killed by predators. By November 17th, perhaps only 30 to 40 sailors remained alive out of original 100 who survived sinking. George Sullivan, approximately November 17th to 18th. Multiple survivor testimonies describe George Sullivan exhibiting clear signs of severe dehydration and quite possibly hypernatremia by November 17th or 18th. Accounts describe him as increasingly delirious, confused about his surroundings. This state could have resulted from severe dehydration alone, or from drinking seawater, or from extreme psychological trauma of having witnessed all 4 of his brothers die. Most likely, some combination of all 3 factors. Some historical accounts use phrase, "driven insane with grief." This phrasing, while dramatic, likely reflects reality of multiple overlapping causes: profound traumatic stress from loss, severe physiological dehydration effects, possible hypernatremia from seawater ingestion, complete physical exhaustion, and cumulative psychological burden of days in water. On approximately November 17th or November 18th, multiple witnesses reported that George Sullivan climbed overside of life raft he had been occupying. He entered water deliberately, either swam away from raft or simply let himself sink beneath surface. He was never seen again. His body was never recovered. November 18th to 21st. Death rate among remaining survivors accelerated dramatically in final days. By November 18th, perhaps 30 to 40 men still alive. By November 19th, perhaps 20. By November 20th, perhaps 12 to 15. Finally, on November 21st, 1942, exactly 8 days after USS Juneau had broken apart and sunk, U.S. Navy PBY Catalina search aircraft, flying systematic search pattern, located survivors floating in water north of Guadalcanal. 10 sailors remained alive. Out of approximately 100 who had survived initial magazine explosion and sinking, out of 687 men who had been aboard USS Juneau on morning of November 13th. PBY Catalina and additional rescue aircraft that were immediately dispatched retrieved all 10 survivors from water. They were transported as quickly as possible to Espiritu Santo for emergency medical treatment. All 10 men survived rescue and hospitalization, though several required extended medical care for severe dehydration, exposure injuries, infected wounds, and shark attack trauma. None of 5 Sullivan brothers survived. Their bodies were never recovered from ocean north of Guadalcanal. January 1943, Waterloo, Iowa. Thomas and Alida Sullivan had not received letters from sons since early November. Standard mail delays, 2 to 3 weeks. By late December, absence concerning. Alida Sullivan wrote to Bureau of Naval Personnel, mentioning rumors all 5 sons killed. January 11, 1943, 3 men in uniform arrived. Navy Lieutenant Commander, Chief Petty Officer, Navy Doctor. Thomas Sullivan answered door. "I have some news for you about your boys," one officer said. "Which one?" Thomas asked. "I'm sorry, all 5. Official notification. 687 sailors killed in Juneau sinking, including George, Francis, Joseph, Madison, and Albert Sullivan. President Roosevelt sent personal condolence letter. Pope Pius XII sent silver medal and rosary. Iowa State Senate adopted formal resolution, but deaths prompted policy review. Navy practice of allowing siblings to serve together on same ship came under scrutiny. Sullivan case demonstrated risk. One vessel lost could destroy entire family. November 1944. U.S. War Department issued sole survivor policy. If family lost multiple sons in military service, remaining sons could request exemption from combat duty or draft. Policy later expanded. Modern U.S. military regulations include separating siblings across different units when requested, automatic separation of sole surviving sons, family hardship discharges under specific circumstances, sole survivor policy, influenced by Sullivan brothers' deaths, later inspired 1998 film Saving Private Ryan. 2 U.S. Navy destroyers named in honor, USS The Sullivans, DD-537, commissioned September 30, 1943, sponsored by Alida Sullivan, served World War II and Korean War, now museum ship in Buffalo, New York. USS The Sullivans, DDG-68, commissioned April 19, 1997. Arleigh Burke-class guided missile destroyer, still active. Motto, "We stick together." March 17, 2018, St. Patrick's Day. Wreck of USS Juneau located by R.V. Petrel, operated by Vulcan Inc., founded by Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen. Wreck lies approximately 4,200 meters, 2.6 miles, beneath surface, north of Guadalcanal. 5 Sullivan brothers' bodies never recovered. Memorialized at Manila American Cemetery in Philippines. November 13, 1942. Magazine detonation. Structural failure. USS Juneau broke in half in approximately 30 seconds. Mechanism. Torpedo hit ammunition magazine. Magazine exploded in sympathetic detonation. Ship's keel, already fractured from earlier damage, failed completely under internal explosive force. 687 sailors aboard. 5 were brothers. Tactical decision. Do not stop to search for survivors. Risk to remaining task force assessed as too high. Decision followed standard naval doctrine. Communication failure. Rescue request relayed to B-17 bomber. Message not transmitted for hours due to radio silence protocol. Headquarters did not mount rescue operation for 8 days. Result: approximately 100 survivors entered water. Only 10 found alive 8 days later. 5 Sullivan brothers enlisted together January 3, 1942. Requested assignment to same ship. Navy approved. Standard practice at time. Siblings serving together not forbidden, sometimes encouraged. All 5 brothers aboard USS Juneau when magazine exploded. None survived. Policy change. Sole survivor policy created November 1944. Direct result of Sullivan family's loss. Modern U.S. military regulations now include provisions for separating family members and protecting sole surviving sons. Commemoration. 2 destroyers named USS the Sullivans. First commission 1943, sponsored by brother's mother. Second commission 1997, still in service. Wreck. Located March 17, 2018. Depth, 4,200 meters. 5 brothers remain with their ship. Magazine hit. Ship broke in half. 30 seconds. 5 brothers lost. Mechanism was structural failure under explosive force. Decision was tactical assessment of submarine threat. Failure was communication breakdown, delaying rescue 8 days. Cost was 687 sailors, including 5 brothers who insisted on serving together. Report ends.
30 seconds. 687 sailors, 5 brothers.
8 days until rescue. 10 survivors found. The Mathematics of USS Juneau. Subscribe for more stories where the numbers tell what words cannot.